Strap yourself in, childrens. Time for a long one. When Akechi rose the next morning, he pulled the nearest current aside. A clear blue sky greeted him. Warm sunbeams tickled his cheeks. Clarity, free of fog. Akechi picked his phone up, examining the evidence from last night. A photo of Yukio in the princess costume. A video clip he chose not to play for fear of rousing Yu from his sleep. And one more shot of Yukio disappearing into a strange castle beneath an unnatural sky. Put together, this only confirmed his and Kanti's hypothesis. A good start to be sure. Content for now, he set his phone and descended the stairs, just in time to spot Dojima by the door. Ah, good morning. Dojima turned around, his expression warring between a scowl and something softer. Hey. Even his voice was more hesitant than usual. Promise me you'll stay out of trouble, all right? Did something come up? I guess he suspected he already knew. But what would Dojima say in light of yesterday's warning? Dojima turned his back and adjusted the sack it swung over his shoulder. You're a sharp kid. You put half as much work to your studies as you have with this case. I think you'll go far. That more or less confirmed Akechi's suspicions. Yukio had disappeared. Dojima knew. More importantly, he knew that Akechi's hunch was correct. Rather than gloat, however, Akechi bowed to the souls of humanity. Your faith in me is flattering, Dojima-san. I'll do my best to surpass your expectations. He would prove himself, one way or another. Anything was better than that oaf's fool of a partner. A bodyguard who couldn't even protect his charge from an outlandish crime. Really, what did Dojima see in him? A question for another time, as Dojima left soon after, and Nanako approached Akechi from behind. I'm tired. If he lied, he see through it. Nanako was sharp, after all. So best to twist the truth and scrub away all the supernatural elements. Your cousin snores loudly. So perhaps it was a jab at Narakami's expense, but the sound of Nanako's laughter made the quip worthwhile. The stairs creaked ever so slightly, then came a familiar, hammy voice. No! How could you betray me, Akechi-kun? You fell against the wall, one hand over his chest. Nanako's giggles intensified. How dare he steal Akechi's thunder again? Well, if you thought he could get the last laugh here, he had another thing coming. Grinning, Akechi smoothed out his hair, puffed out his chest, squared his shoulders, and brought both hands to his hips in a bold show of superior confidence. Your cousin lives a double life. There are many dark secrets I can feel right now. A poignant pause followed, his grin only widening in silent challenge. Effective, it seemed, as his goofy grin dissipated. His eyes remained wide open and unblinking. When he spoke, his voice was uncontrollably stained. Come on, leave Nanako out of this. For instance, Akechi purred, he didn't brush his teeth last night. A bit of baited sweat was sprinkling of mercy. He knew better than to burn Nanako with the knowledge of the TV world, especially when she most certainly tell her father and raise a myriad of uncomfortable questions. But the threat was there, enough for now. Nanako, blissfully unaware, tried out to you and huffed, You have to brush your teeth, or else you'll get cavities. This seemed to snap you out of his temporary stupor, as he performed an exaggerated bow and spoke with that irritatingly dramatic tone. Forgive me, Nanako-sama. For my crimes, I'll prepare a heavenly breakfast fit for a goddess. You're such a clown, Akechi said, parking himself on the couch. You're joking, Nanako said. I like clowns. Akechi couldn't deny the levity brought on by her cheery demeanor, at least. Just remember to brush your teeth, okay? Then you had to up the ante with his darky tactics, getting down on one knee. Of course, my dearest cousin. I've seen the error of my ways. Akechi turned on the TV, while Yu shuffled about the kitchen. What was he doing? He grabbed eggs, milk, a black flour, baking powder. But enough about that. The forecast chimed in, grabbing Akechi's focus and advice. So the weather will be perfect for going out. As for next week's forecast, mostly sun and clouds, with no heavy rain over the next week. And that gave them time for Yukio's rescue. Them being you and his motley crew. Akechi rolled onto his side, lazily pressing his cheek against the couch armrest. There had to be something he could still do. Before he could sulk too heavily, Nanako climbed onto the couch beside him. Akechi-kun, I'm going to regulate my
it's sunny some days and raining other days.
Oh, goodness. Does he really think the weather lady controlled the weather? How to put this? Would correcting her be akin to telling a child Santa Claus wasn't real? Perhaps he could showcase his intellect to soften the blow, or at least nudge her in the right direction. So, as a little test, Akechi sat up straight, brought a hand over his heart, and regaled her with his wisdom. She predicts the weather based on meteorological data. Well, that was a bit too verbose, with the way she frowned and tilted her head slightly. It means that she takes what the scientists learned about the sky and atmosphere and uses it to tell you if it'll be sunny outside.
Wow, that sounds really hard.
Honestly, just watch this, gentlemen. And that'll be all for today. And remember, trust us with your weather.
Look, this chapter's gonna be really long. Do we really have time for a Has-Been Hotel reference?
Trixie. There's always a good time for a Has-Been Hotel reference. Oh, by the way, you guys don't see it, but in my head, the image looks adorable. Nanako is on her hands and knees, is cocking her head adorably to the side. Briefly, Kenzie considered reaching out to pat her head, but, such a level of affection was so foreign. Except for a comforting tone of voice, paired with a warmer smile. That's right. It takes a very big brain to create the machines that collect this data, an even sharper mind to make sense of it all. Nanako idly kicked her little feet, eyeballing the screen. The forecast had sifted to the wire Yamanashi prefecture, with various cities marked at colored temperatures.
Did you learn all that from reading too?
Correct. That's why it's important to study hard and do all your homework. See, Akechi could be a role model too. Take that, Narukami! You turned from the stove, his tall stature still obscuring his handiwork. Maybe you should be Nanako's study senpai. I think she liked the company today. You Narukami, you little shit! Akechi forced a painfully tight smile that pinched and threatened to snap into a frown because, damn it, he walked right into a trap. A trap punctuated by a little wink as he scooped up a spatula and returned to his handiwork. Akechi intended to spend the day with Kanji, but, this gave him an idea. A sneaky little idea. You never said where they had to study, after all, nor whether it had to be just the two of them. I'd love to, Nanako-chan. In fact, why don't we invite Kanji-san and find a comfortable place outside? Oh, the way she instantaneously beamed and clapped her little hands together was too pure for this cruel world. Ha! Another win against you and his irritating charm. Akechi laced his fingers together, smirking as he sauntered out of the kitchen, balancing 3 plates of fluffy, souffle-style pancakes adorned with melted butter and near artistic drizzling of syrup. The sugary sweet fragrance made Akechi's stomach cry out. It didn't help that you carried the plates so effortlessly and laid them out on the table with an unnecessary level of fluidity. It also didn't help that those pancakes looked so delicious. They were, in fact, delicious pancakes. Akechi found when he took the first bite, and his eyes bulged at the fluffy texture, combined with the warmth and appetizing blend of maple melted with hot butter. He hated this. He absolutely hated this. So naturally, he shoveled more and more bites on an almost mechanical impulse, while that cutesy detective loveline show played on the TV before him. Nanako even dug out her little detective's hat and talking mirror accessory to once again emulate the titular heroine between intermittent bites of her breakfast.
It's education time! I'm the magical detective Loveline!
She struck a pose and activated the toy. Stop, or I'll put a cap in ya! Nanako huffed at the mirror and shook it gently.
Why are you always doing that one?
He finished off his meal first, and upon rinsing his plate, made his way to the door. All right, I'm off. Gotta meet with some friends. He slid the door open, peered over his shoulder at Akechi. Stay out of trouble. Ugh. It was one thing coming from Dojima, but you too? Of course, Narukami-san. At least he was good at faking a cheery demeanor when the situation called for it. Once he and Nanako finished eating, he joined her in the kitchen to help with the dishes. Mindlessly following the rhythm of rinsing and scrubbing, this seemed like the perfect opportunity to set his machinations in motion. Say, Nanako-chan, would you like to be a detective today?
Still wearing her detective's hat, she glanced at the docking mirror on the counter. It properly wilted. But what does that mean? We can just multitask. In fact, we could go undercover as ordinary students doing ordinary work. In the field, they call this a covert operation. Ding! Akechi winked, polishing her glass all the while. Nanako peeked at the TV as Detective Loveline uncovered a secret underground treasure trove tucked away by the cackling villain of the week. She drifted toward her little mirror, then slowly scooted up and pressed the button. He's the culprit! Grab him! Exactly. You Murakami leads a double life. Wouldn't you like to see what he's up to when he's not at Hal? And wouldn't you like to go to Junes? It seemed almost likely to meet on weekend, disregarding the TV world, and given Nanako's affection for the place. Junes! Ah, there it was. That sparkle in her eyes, combined with an ecstatic wave of the mirror toy. Then, the detective's bloodline is on the case! She struck another pose, when making a peace sign with her free hand. Ah, to be so young and enthusiastic. Kenzie finished cleaning the last cup, set it upside down in a plastic tub to dry. I'll message Kanzi-san momentarily, but remember, we're undercover, so have to act natural. Nanako looked at her mirror with a stiff, stern expression that looked so off-putting on her little face. Then she marched over to the table, set the mirror down, and nodded. That's your stop! He wasn't sure how one would activate a mission, but there was no sense of disputing with a 6-year-old. Instead, he typed a quick message to Kanji. Kanji-san, we're going to Junes tomorrow at Murakami. Will you accompany us? Bring schoolwork and textbooks so we can pretend we're studying. Damn, stake out! That's the idea. See you there then? Yeah, sure, got time to kill. Upon getting showered, changed, and grabbing her school bags, Akechi and Nanako met Kanji outside of Junes. While Akechi donned his sweater vest and khakis, Kanji opened for a Flaming Skull's tank top, belt, and black pants. Even the book bag he slung over his shoulder had a Flaming Skull patch, sewn to match his sense of style. So, you senpai's hanging out here? He's up to something very mysterious, Akechi said, eyeing the top of the building. Nanako scooted closer, whispering, We're in the cover. Akechi nodded. But we do wish to study as well, so it's not like we're lying. We're simply... He would have said killing 2 birds with 1 stone, but given the 6-year-old with them, making the best use of our time. Well, let's get this party started! Kanzi punched his fist in the air, then stopped deflating. Dang, what's a cool detective thing to say? Commencing operation, study stakeout. That would do. Straight, simple, to the point, with an alliterative edge. A quick elevator ride led them up to the rooftop food court. It was myriad tables spanning before them, air mixed with colored banners and an array of different food stalls. Or treats like ice cream and crepes, to a lighter fare like takoyaki, and some heftier meat entrees as offerings. A few copper animal rides offered to small children a means to keep busy, while a few straight benches provided seating beyond the standard accommodations. But, just look there and look, they would find Yosuke and you at one of the center tables. Today, Yosuke wore a white jacket over his orange shirt, with headphones resting around his neck. He reached behind his back, messing some old items he dug out of a closet. Akechi placed a finger to his lips, and then waved his hand for the others to follow. They crept closer, past their customers, chatting amongst themselves and enjoying the culinary offerings. He stopped about 2 tables away from you and Yosuke, and pulled one of his books to conceal his face. Kanji and Nanako followed suit. Then, like an absolute fool, Yosuke Hanamura whipped out a katana and an aikuchi? We got our personas, but a golf club's not the most reliable weapon. Persona. That was a new term. Moreover, you had used a golf club to fight in the other world? He thought Akechi couldn't handle himself. Oh, and for those of you not weaponly inclined like I am, Aikuchi is a really, kind of like a really cool Japanese dagger. Beside him, Kanji gawked at the weapons, but at least he had the sense to clamp his jaw shut rather than make any sudden outburst. Instead, he dug lower to the table's surface and spoke softly. No way! You're seriously packing weapons around here? Said Nanako. And no, it really didn't. Some of the nearby customers even started staring at the display. Not that Yosuke seemed to care, as he waved the weapons before you. So, which one strikes your fancy? You looked him over and then said, the katana, I guess. Ah, you got discerning taste. This is a Junes exclusive. The blade's fake, though. As for me, wait, maybe both would be good, too. As if Yosuke hadn't already proved his idiocy. He started striking ridiculous poses that he likely got from a shonen manga, even going so far as to lick one of the blades. A woman from a nearby table backed away. Not a good sign. Akechi facepalmed. That imbecile. Nanako tugged on his sleeve. You must stop him. Too late. A police officer ran up, walkie-talkie in hand.
Two suspicious young males found. One armed with multiple weapons. Requesting immediate backup.
Yosuke froze, then hastily hid the weapons behind his back. Huh? Oh crap! I mean, no. This isn't what it looks like. We didn't steal it. I guess that's not what matters. Anyway, we're not doing anything bad. We're just two ordinary kids who like weapons. Ugh, that doesn't sound right either. The Nanako dropped her book on the table, hopped out of her chair, and rushed towards the scene. Stop! The patrolman stepped between her and Yosuke.
Young lady, please step back. These men are armed and dangerous.
His jaw dropped, eyes started to puff from their sockets, and he staggered forward. Nanako, where? Fuck it! And Kenshi set his book down and sauntered up to the little damage control. Nanako-chan, do be careful. It's best not to provoke an officer. Yosuke got to the side of him, and once again, proving idiocy, flailed to fake weapons. Dude! What the hell are you doing here? Two more cops closed in, and the initial patrolman said,
Put the weapons down! Hands in the air!
Nanako protested to no avail, although Kanzi stomped over, fist balled up and no doubt ready to ball. Akechi halted him with a razor-sharp look and shake of his head. The patrolman pulled out a pair of handcuffs once Yosuke set the weapons down, while another policeman took Yu's wrist and pinned him behind his back.
They can prove that at the station.
Akechi stepped in front of Nanako, crouching down and whispering, It's going to be okay. I'm sure your father will set the record straight. Nonetheless, he sent a scathing hot glance to Yu and Yosuke. It's just a shame you had to see them like this. Yosuke growled as one of the officers pushed him towards the elevator. You son of a... Yu, on the other hand, walked willingly despite the handcuffs. Come on, let's just get this over with. It only dawned on Akechi that he had taken Nanako's shoulder in hand, giving it a supportive squeeze. Kazi soon shook Akechi, placing his hand on her opposite side. Yosuke peered back at the three of them, and his face flashed wide open stupor. Shit! They brought Tatsumi here too! The elevator doors behind him closed, and the eerie silence fell over the entire food court, for all of a few seconds. Then Kazi stomped his foot, startling the elevator.
Damn pigs! Why do you have to make a scene out of this?
Nanako stared stiffly beneath Akechi's hand. Akechi did not like Yu Murakami. That boy was so insufferable, so charismatic and so talented, so lucky, so But regardless of Akechi's personal disdain, jail was excessive, especially if they hoped to save Yukio. So what to do? Well, there was one possibility. Kazi-san, do you mind accompanying us to the station? Kazi once again wilted, glancing off at their abandoned textbooks.
Yeah, necessary to be happy to see me, though.
A short elevator ride brought them back to the lobby. When they stepped outside, who should appear but Chie? Behind her, the cop cars pulled away. Chie locked eyes with Kazi as somehow he knew what was going on. Hey, what's with the cop cars? Akechi intervened. Narukami-san and Harumura-san were arrested. And of course, Chie stepped back and snickered and shrieked, Are you serious? Her shoulders jumped up, her arms stiffened at her sides, fists balled up tight. Ugh, when I get my hands on them, I'm gonna... She stopped, looking down at Nanako. Well, it won't be pretty. No one even got a word in before Chie rocketed down the street and into police station's general direction. Then again, she was with them the day they used the electronics department for their little TV World joyride. That made her a potential source of intelligence. Come on, Akechi said, following her lead. I have a feeling Chie-san's temper may only complicate matters. Akechi's worries were confirmed when they reached the police station. Two officers, clearly on edge, turned to Kanji with narrowed eyes, and one even withdrew a walkie-talkie.
He made no sudden moves yet, but one asked in a rough tone of voice, "What business do you have here?"
Kazi reflectively tensed. His fists clenched, his shoulders hunched. Akechi looked up at him, shook his head, and moved forward. Poor Nanako-chan just wants to know if her cousin is all right. Akechi amped up the theatrics, speaking with a whinier edge than he usually liked, grasping his chest so tight as if the danger to Narukami had truly skewered his heart. A necessary sacrifice to his dignity that paid off, it seemed, for the cop stepped aside and said,
"All right, just don't cause any more trouble. Damn kids have given us a real headache."
it seemed that those damn kids included Chie, because the very moment the three of them slipped through the door, her shrill voice practically exploded in the lobby. What do you mean I can't see them? Nako ducked behind Akechi. Kazi just sort of stared, understandably, because past the front desk, T.A. stopped right up to Adachi, leaning right to his face and snarling like a rabid dog. Adachi, despite being a grown man and a detective, shrank back, rubbing his neck. Look, I'm sure this is all a big misunderstanding, but we still gotta follow stated procedures, so. Then Kazi parched right over, stopping beside the two.
"There a problem over here?"
Adachi squeaked, gulped, and winced at the sudden intrusion. Chia, on the other hand, beamed and cracked her knuckles. Hey, you're that Tatsumi guy, right? This jerkwad's acting like my friends are criminals, but maybe with a bit of your tough guy persuasion. Oh, for the love of. Adachi hustled in to intervene with Nanako's trailing close behind. He cleared his throat loudly. I really advise against escalating at a police station. But Nanako-chan had once again ducked him. Poor girl. It's all right, Nanako-chan. I'm sure Dojima-san will take care of things. Smart kid. And a severely goofy smile unfurled across Adachi's punchable face. Okay, knowing what I know about him, there are two ways you can interpret that. Either friendly, smart kid, or evilly, smart kid. Shink! Seriously, you're right about something fishy going on at the inn. We got a call from that Magi girl's mom last night, and
"Adachi!"
Dojima barked, stomping over to their impromptu little crowd. When he tore his eyes off Adachi and looked over at Ketsi and the others, he groaned and said,
"What are you kids doing here?"
You're supposed to be studying at Junis, Akechi said, that your dear nephew had to act like an idiot in public.
"So you saw everything. Great."
Dojima reached for his brow, massaging it for a few moments, perhaps in a desperate bid to calm down. It seemed to work, because when he turned to Kanzi, the edge of his voice had dulled once again.
"Been keeping you out of trouble, Tatsumi?"
Kanzi hunched his back, perhaps in an attempt to look shorter and less intimidating.
Of course I have. And you could do me a favor and take Akatsuki and Nanako home. I need a word with these two."
Right on cue, you and Yosuke very awkwardly shuffled forward. Predictably, they both stared at their visitors. Yosuke even said, Seriously, what is with that kid? Chie saw past Adachi. Oh, you've got some serious explaining to do. Jojima stopped her, grabbed her shoulder, and clamped down tight.
"Take her with you."
What? Chie jerked, his tried wriggling, but no avail. Jojima blew a rumbling sigh. His hand remained steady.
"Police business. You can talk later."
Come on, Kazi said, pointing at some at the door. We don't want to make a scene. Fine, Chie, deflated, then tugged her shoulder again. Tojima released his hold, and with that, Chie, Kanji, Kachi, and Nanako all returned outside. Once they crossed the street, Chie crossed her arms and gave the others a starboard stare. Okay, spill. What really happened? Nanako spoke up. He had swords and they got something like that. Those idiots! What did he think was going to happen? At least try to hide the darn things. Chie stopped again, face bright red, only simmered down when Nanako clung to Kachi's waist. I understand your frustration, he said, placing a hand on top of Nanako's head. But please recall that we have a child with us, who's looking 10 kinds of adorable. Kanzi, surprisingly calm given the circumstances, pressed one hand against his neck while peering at the station.
"What are the swords for, anyway? Seems kind of weird to bring stuff like that to a food court."
Kenzie already had a hunch. With Nanako present and the cops close by, it was unwise to voice it here. Chie tittered and waved her hands, clearly sharing similar sentiments. Oh, they were probably, just being dumb guys. She put on a comically deep voice and swung her arm as if she was carrying an invisible weapon. Look at me and my damn sword. I'm so deaf. That actually squeezed a tiny giggle out of Nanako. She released her hold at Ketsi. Good. It was a start. Still, Akechi couldn't resist the opportunity to tear into his idiot roommate, leaning into theatrics once again. Narukami-san should have known better. Think of poor Nanako-chan. What if he had been jailed? And then we'd be all alone. What better way to punch you with a quivering lip? Tia snored. I give him 5 minutes before Yosuke drives her crazy. Oh, so she wasn't afraid to joke at her friend's expense. Akechi smirked. Perhaps he had more sense. With Narukami-san, I give him 2. Nanako moved closer to Tia and whispered, You got testosterone. A sudden outburst made Tia stumble back. Holy, who taught you that word? As amusing as all this was, seeing the cops didn't quite share the sentiment. They scowled at the group and muttered to each other. Hansi turned down the street and said, Come on, we should mosey. I'm sure your pals will find you when you're ready. Their walk eventually led them down to Suzai Daigaku, per Chie's eager demands. I'm gonna need some serious steak after what they just put us through. But 2 orders of steak skewers for 1 girl? She only had a few centimeters on Akechi, so it wasn't as though she was opposing his stature. If Akechi hadn't eaten a filling breakfast, he may have considered trying one as well. But for now, he and Kanji just sat back there and watched Chie finally tear into her meat, while Nanako sat behind her and giggled. You must be mean. You mean ticked off. Those stupid idiot boys and their stupid idiot swords. Technically, one was a large knife. Akechi said, Sword, knife, who cares? It's still dumb. Kanji's fingers tapped at the tabletop. By the way, you, been watching that Midnight Channel at all? Chie froze just as he was about to take another ravenous bite of steak. She set the skewer down and said, I'm surprised you have. You don't look like the kind of guy who listens to gossip. Isn't it bad to stay up late? Nanako-san, you mean you're trying to do anything fun the next day? Kanji shrugged. At least it wasn't a school night. But still, what was up with that princess get-up and the attack and cancel? All at once, Nanako's attention pivoted to Kanji. You saw a princess? Yeah, but she said a bunch of crap that wasn't good for kids. So listen to your pops, okay? Get your sleep and all that. T.A. snickered. Wow, Kanji-kun. Who knew you were such a softy? Hey, don't get the wrong idea. I ain't a wuss. Just trying to be mature. Oh, but I like to hear nice. Nanako smiled, bright and bright, which only served to make Kanji's cheeks turn pink. He ducked his head to conceal embarrassment. Chie snickered a little more, but our focus turned to Akechi. You're that kid we bumped into the other day, right? Yukun's roommate? Correct. I'm Goro Akechi, but I'll have to request that you use my family name. She struck him as a rather brazen when it came to social customs. No honor fix, her casual manner of speech. And she started calling him Goro, it'd be far too much of a hassle for his liking. Akechi was well comfortable anyway. Yeah, Goro sounds too handsy. Why, yes, it took me this long to make at least one Mortal Kombat joke. What of it? After a moment of silence, T.A. shook her head and grinned. Okay, Mr. Smarty Pants, I'm T.A. Satonaka. You can use my first name, because I'm totally not stuffy and all that other formal stuff way too awkward. Oh, no offense. Yes, and seeing that establishing boundaries was, in fact, the right decision. Well, at least now they had introductions out of the way. That meant he could move on to more pressing subjects. So Akechi scooted forward, folding his hands on the table. Chie-san, I heed what Adachi-san said, and about Maki-san. I went to the inn yesterday to warn her, yet now she is missing. Doesn't bode well. More troublingly, her mother had collapsed for exhaustion due to Miss Yamano's harsh demands. How'd you... Chie stopped herself. I mean, thanks for looking out for Yukio. Is she gonna be okay? Nanako asked. She sure is. We're all looking out for her. So anyone tries any funny business, she got him for the table, kicking and punching the air. Nanako slowly gasped, watching TA's every movement. You gonna be the bad guys? Yep, you'll stand a chance. Cool. Nanako slid down from the crate, grinning wide. You think you can teach me how to be the bad guys too? Oh, wanna trade with me? TA bent down, patting her head. I'd love to, but I can't today. Right now, I gotta make sure those dorks don't do anything dumb. As if beckoned by her words, the phone rang within seconds. She picked out of her pocket. Ugh, about time you got out there, Yosuke. Yeah, I'm heading over to Kazi-kun and the kids. Now get your butts down to the shopping district, or I'll drag you here myself.
Kazi snored. Sounds like you got your hands full.
He got up, turning down the street.
Come on, let's bounce.
Nanako lingered beside TA, frowning. Akechi watched TA snatch her phone shut rather forcefully. Was painting a rather clear picture. I suspect that Chie-san has some colorful words for her friends, and none of them are age appropriate. Nope, totally not age appropriate. Sorry, Nanako-chan. It's okay, she said, trying over to Kanji. I can try another time. If it worked just Akechi and Kanji, sticking around might have proven advantageous, but he couldn't exactly talk about the TV world in Hanako's presence. Ultimately, the three of them headed back towards the Dojima residence, though on the way, Akechi eyed the gas station. No sign that he attended today. Perhaps that was for the best. It'd be difficult to share his latest findings with an audience after all. When they finally returned home, Akechi, Kanji, and Nanako all gathered in the living room with their schoolwork. At least this way, they studied a little bit at the end. With his remote in hand, Kanji reclined on the couch, aimlessly switching the channels.
Feels like we ought to be doing more than just laying low.
Akechi nuzzed his tank with a pencil eraser, then worked through some math formulas. I don't blame Dojima-san. If there's a killer on the loose, then of course you want the children like us to stay out of harm's way. Nanako leaned over her book, her face crinkling in concentration. Was he stuck on a problem? Akechi moved beside her, eyeing the problem. Ah, I see. Why don't you try counting forward, then take one step backwards? Oh, good idea! As Akechi assisted Nanako with some case problems, the gears in his head spun wildly. You and Yosuke had weapons, even if they were just fakes. They had every intention of fighting then. No doubt they planned to drive back into the TV and scour the mysterious world for Yukio. Just how many people had that power? How did they attain it? You didn't spend much time outside the Jotima house on the day of his arrival. There was only one opportunity he could have gained such a boon. When they stopped at the gas station and wandered around the shopping district, the gas station, where his eerie attendant full of secrets in his lazy smile, and the shopping district, where Marie loitered with her book on Annabeth's history. Two strange, otherworldly beings, each equally shrouded in mystery. It had to be one of them. But then, why was Akechi so empty-headed despite Marie being sent to monitor him in some capacity? There was a promise in that changing. He would see to it one way or the other. It wasn't that Akechi couldn't stomach a challenge, but the agony of waiting on the sidelines while he got to indulge himself in heroics. Akechi watched for the opening of Fetterman Victory played, showcasing the colorful costume heroes. To think that beyond that screen, another world waited for him. If only he could see it for himself. Dim light flickered overhead. Shelves and racks all towered all around Hugh, packed with everything from freshly polished axes and halberds to kunai sticking out of the table tops and sheathed katana laid on display. Armor stood proud between the shelves, both Western-style breastplates and traditional samurai garb. An open forge behind the front counter crackled with freshly lit flames, while the muscled, mustached, scarred man who ran the shop pounded away. You had seen the Daijiro metalworks shops passing a few times, but standing within felt like being transported to another world, like something out of a fantasy novel or role-playing games. And this place sold real weapons to high schoolers. The TA was to be believed. So Jima was going to kill them if he found out. For the past few minutes, Yosuke had hovered by the selection of daggers and kunai, but then he stopped to frown and turned around. Okay, I can't be the only one who finds this whole thing suspicious, right? The murders are... TA asked. The murders are shady, but think about it. That Ketchy keeps showing up whenever we go. Last night, he was on the phone at the same time I called him Murakami, and he just happened to be at Juno's again today. And don't get me started on Tatsumi. He removed one of the katana from his display, rotating the sheath in his hands. Yeah, pretty sure he knows about the other world. Yosuke slapped his hand down on the nearest table. Ugh! Who does that kid think he is? He keeps stalking us. He keeps sticking his nose into our business. Technically, anyone can watch the Midnight Channel, said TA. And it sounds like you got a head start on all of us. He sighed, partially unsheathing his sword just to get a good look at the blade. I guess he's sharp, even when we only had a silhouette to work with. And he knew Yukio was the next target. He even went to see her before she got kidnapped. He cared, even if he probably couldn't admit it aloud. And that was good. It proved the kid had started coming out of his shell. Why did he have to get so invested in this murder case? Why couldn't he tell the smart somewhere else? What was you supposed to do with him? He tried to warn us about Saki Senpai, if we didn't listen. Yosuke punched himself. Damn it! Whoa, easy! TA caught one of the knives before he could impale Yosuke's foot. I totally get it, Yosuke, but it's not your fault. We were totally clueless about that place, and that bear kicked us out. But we were so close! Yosuke's fist trembled. His eyes squeezed shut. His chest froze, and he fell as he struggled to calm his breathing, until he slumped against one of the shelves. So, what do we do about it? He already knows our secret. You knew more about that, but at the same time, you said, I can't bring him along. CA turned to him, smiled weakly. Scared he'll get hurt? Yeah, and I know he doesn't like me. Ever since I came here, he's been on edge. And I can't blame him. But with an attitude like his, there's no guarantee he'd be ready to face his other self, let alone a team player. Huh? TA's wide-eyed stare was to be expected. She wasn't there after all. Now, hold on a sec. What's this about another self? Exactly what it sounds like, said Yosuke. When we went in yesterday, this other me showed up, spouting a bunch of crap I didn't want to hear. Thoughts and feelings I couldn't accept. He added, it turned into a monster, and only stopped when Yosuke finally accepted it as part of himself. Let's beg the question of why you didn't face his shadow. And Izaki had come with him naturally, giving him the strength to fight. Without it, would he even be here today? Ga seemed to pick up pretty fast. At least he paced around the room and spoke slowly. So if I go in there... You nodded. Bear, brace yourself. But, hey, if it works out, you get some kick-ass powers! To use surprise, Yosuke actually managed to grin, though hung on side on his lips. Ga brought her hands to her hips. Did we at least get Kanji-kun in on the action? A tough guy like him would scare the pants off the killer! True, Kanji was certainly no pushover. The stature, the muscle, the kind heart buried under the tough guy exterior. You got what Chie was saying, but we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves. Yosuke sighed. Yeah, I'm with you on this one. We're still getting a feel for this place. Probably better if we hold off on dragging anyone else into the ring. Fine! Chie blew an even bigger, powerier sigh than Yosuke, which drew the attention of the Daijiro himself. The old man raised an eyebrow, and Chie sat up straight, tittering, well, enough chit-chat. Let's get to gear! Back at the Dojima residence, Nanako has successfully completed her assignments for the day. As a reward, Akechi brought some orange slices and a bag of chocolate cookies for all of them to enjoy. Kanji crumbled to the couch as he flipped through his English textbook, while Akechi finished up his final page of notes from a reading assignment. While the peppy theme song to Buchimaru and Friends kicked in, Akechi called to Nanako. Well, you'll be all right if Kanji-san and I stepped outside for a moment. There's something I'd like to discuss with him. Nanako looked away from the screen, just long enough to nod. That's okay. I know how to play. Sliding down from the couch, Akechi moseyed right past the table, right over to the sliding glass door. Well, Akechi-san? Oh, sir. All the study's giving me a headache anyway. He followed Akechi outside, sitting down on the back porch. So, what's up? I figured now would be a good time to visit our findings. Akechi leaned against the door, legs crossed, and brought a hand to his chin. We've already established that potential pattern and the connection between the murders and the Midnight Channel. But I think with Amagi-san's disappearance, we could solidify our hypothesis. He paced back and forth, still shrugging his chin. Yesterday, you proposed that the presence of a background on the Midnight Channel determined whether or not a victim had already encountered the TV. And now, Akechi opened his phone to the Midnight Channel clip from the night before. Welcome to the Not a Dream, Not a Hoax, Princess Yukio's hunt for a Prince Charming, and I came prepared. Akechi stopped the clip before Yukio could mention her lacy unmentionables. But even without that, the way Kanji's entire face turned red only reaffirmed how awkward this whole debacle was.
Damn, you got real footage. He went the other way, coughing. Yeah, but that's a lot.
Yes, Amagi-san's Midnight Channel appearance was, Akechi grimaced, unique, to put it tastefully.
Ain't no corpse either. That means the whole thing with the fog must really be true.
Kanji leaned back on his palms, watching one of the trees in the yard rustle in the wind.
But hey, means we got time, right? There's no serious rain for at least another week.
Correct. So long as the weather is clear, Akechi gestured at the sunny sky. Those trapped in the TV will not die. Yet all the same, Yukio Amagi has entered the TV world, thus confirming my suspicions that those who have received recent media attention become the next targets.
So we still got time.
Kanji blew a sigh of relief.
That's good, but still doesn't explain why I'm off the hook. Unless it really is just girls being tossed in there.
Or a killer didn't mobilize until recently. Akechi sat beside Kanji, sifting through the photos until he stopped on the image of you, partially submerged in the TV screen. It's strange. First, the recency of the Midnight Channel rumors. Then, coincidentally, Yu Murakami arrived a day before Ayumi Yamano perished, and would later attain the power to enter television. Kanji's face crumbled and pulled in such a way that made his befuddlement both transparent and utterly endearing.
You say you senpai's the perp?
No, I did briefly consider it, but it doesn't line up. Narakami-san was fast asleep when Miss Yamano was attacked, and he was with us the entire time since his arrival before that. Nonetheless, the timing is incredibly strange.
Plus, if our perp's really throwing people into TV, ain't it weird that he and you senpai had the same power?
Exceptionally weird. And unfair. What did they have that Akechi didn't? But it also leads credence to the idea that there is a source to this ability. This leaves a very narrow window for when and how he could have attained it.
Well, that'd have been pretty early, right?
He was out like a light the first night he arrived. Perhaps that was when his power awakened inside of him, allowing him to reach through the screen the following night.
Huh. Did you see anything weird that might have led to these powers?
I actually did. I guess he held out his free hand, gazing at the empty palm. A sudden jolt to his head following a simple handshake. A simple sharp headache mere moments before he reached through that screen. That day, Narakami-san came into contact with two enigmatic figures. My acquaintance Maria-san and that ever-elusive gas station employee. Ha! I guess he couldn't help but smile as another thought nibbled at his brain. It's funny. The attendant has been watching me like a hawk since the night we met. He gave me my umbrella, used the fox to beckon me to him. Now he's promising a reward if I impress him the next time we meet. Then there's Marie-san, whose mysterious master is said to closely monitor my movements. All this, while Narakami-san thinks I'm unworthy.
You know he's just trying to look out for you. Your foster pops would probably freak if he heard about all this creepy TV shit going on. No way he'd get you involved.
Oh, I'm aware. Totima-san feels I'd be better off putting my energy into my studies. But Narakami-san should really ask himself who it is that correctly predicted the last two targets. I'm a worthwhile ally, and he knows it. Still, not much to be done without you present. But back to the killer. It'd be easy to assume that what they did away with Konnichi-san after she witnessed Miss Yamano's death. But by then, the killer must have known that her corpse would appear for all to see. Akechi wheezed out a broken laugh. The image of a swaying, hanging shadow flashed before his eyes.
No one should have to witness such a thing. But then we have Amagi-san, who bears no direct connection to the case, save
For the fact that Miss Yamano stayed at her family's inn until her untimely end.
Didn't you say she was a real bitch to Yukio Senpai's ma?
True. But I'm not sure it has any real bearing on the case. The media attention on the inn, and thus Amagi-san, was likely the deciding factor. Akechi's fingers tapped against the porch, and he peered at the television through the door. After all, she was interviewed on the news prior to her first Midnight Channel appearance. Unlike Konnichi-san, however, she didn't immediately disappear. Which brings us to this. I guess he mercifully selected the initial still of Princess Yukio. Amagi-san seemed uncharacteristic here. The attire, her behavior, her location as well. He selected a shot of the castle beneath that eerie red sky. Unless I'm mistaken, you know her better than me. Kazi shook his head and looked at his palms.
Hell no. Yukio Senpai's always been kind of quiet, you know? Polite and reserved. Not,
Thirsty? Akechi snickered. Perhaps that was a bit blunt.
Yeah, that. I ain't ever seen her take that much interest in anybody before.
Kazi winced.
But yeah, the whole thing was creepy. Freaking weird looking sky. The way she was acting was like she was brainwashed or something.
Akashi minced his chin again. I suppose possession is an option. If we're to delve into the supernatural, or perhaps one's continued presence in the world alters the psyche. Yet Narukami-san, Hanamura-san, and Chie-san always seem to unchanged. It could have been more than a few hours between my meeting with Amagi-san and her disappearance in the TV. So what was that, Yukio? Something didn't add up. Nazi's face strains. He slicked his hair back.
Okay, so we know there's these freaking monsters in there. And we know there's castles and shit. And vending machines. I guess some kind of talking bear? Jeez, what is that world?
Hell if I know, said Akechi. Narukami said it's dangerous. And in spite of the danger, he and Hanamura-san have come and gone at least twice. But the decor seems strangely inconsistent, given that there was also a poster of Mizuzu Haragi somewhere. Hmm. Poster of Nanakami's wife, vending machines, looking like a shopping district, and now the castle. I suppose the world could manifest areas based around the people within it. We just don't know enough to say conclusively. It was a stretch anyway. He'd barely seen Saki's location, let alone Mayumi Yamano's. After a few moments of silence, Kanji and Akechi sighed in unison.
Just be sure easier to figure out if we could see that other world.
Yes, but Narukami-san doesn't want me getting involved. Try one more time and I'll forget my findings. As it stands, we certainly expect him to cooperate.
Friggin' stupid if you ask me. We're all kids. Let me in there and I kick some off their ass!
Kanji even stood up, placed his muscles with emphasis. Funny how he went from understanding used modes to this. Well, at least we have a potential plan B. Yes, he said, flipping his phone open and closed. One way or the other, we'll all catch up to them. In case anybody is curious, my little brother's playthrough of Persona 4, he finished it off with you, Yukio, Naruto, and Kanji. So, yeah, Kanji, if this ends the way it's supposed to, and it ends the way my little brother did it, yeah, you're in the final fight. Apparently, Kanji's a good tank. I wouldn't know, I only watched Let's Plays of the game. It was so much to take in. The castle that towered into a sky of blood red and shadow, black ripples of some kind. The winding halls with the red carpets and checkered floors and high ceilings, columns, fancy windows, and double doors. All of it so clear thanks to the glasses that Teddy Guy gave Chie. When they first got here, she had the urge to run ahead, but knowing her other self lurked somewhere in there, and that it represents some part of her she tried to ignore, made her hesitate just a bit. In the end, she trailed behind you and Yosuke, with her crazy personas and even crazier powers. It was like something out of a manga. Huge guys. Except those guys were some metal masked samurai dude in a long coat, and a surgeon-eyed dude with a white jumpsuit, and a long red scarf, and long frog-like fingers. Those guys sent lightning crackling through the halls, followed by bursts of wind. And you can see that's how you describe somebody's attire, people. All Chie could really do was kick their asses, literally. Except some of the enemies didn't even have asses. What was up with those freaky hovering mouth things? Or those floating dolphin dudes with the masquerade mask, whose bodies were made out of black and red scrolls? Also weird little hand guys with sad blue masks for some reason. Still, as long as Chie could fight, she could contribute. While you and Yosuke took to the front lines, knocking enemies down with flashy magic, Chie rushed right after them to pummel them when they hit the floor. It was something. She could do this. She just had to be ready for that evil twin of hers. She just had to stay calm. She could do this, right? in a wide open room draped in gold and red curtains, so you could hear Yukio's voice. Chie was the only one who gave my life meaning, she said. She's bright and strong and can do anything. She has everything I don't. Compared to Chie, I'm. Chie protects me. She looks after my worthless life, and I don't deserve any of it. Chie is so kind. Those words had twisted Chie's heart into knots. She'd give anything to find Yukio, grab her by the shoulders, look her straight in the eyes, and tell her that no, she wasn't worthless. She was one of the only things that made Chie's life worthwhile. Trixie can see you biting your finger. And you want to know something? For once, Trixie's on your side! Yes! Look at her straight in the eyes! And kiss her, you two! Come on! You're like the second biggest gay couple I can tell while watching something that I love. Number one, of course, is always going to be Kira and Yathryn. I mean, my god. You and Yosuke had moved closer, with Teddy waddling behind. He whispered for her to get ready, just in case. Then it happened. Her own mirror image strode forward, eyes glowing yellow with a sickeningly wide smile on her face. Her body glowed with a fiery blue aura. She backed away, gulping. You're, you're the other me. That's right. I am you. The other Chie, her shadow cackled. Must be fun, huh? Getting to finally mean something. Yukio's all alone, trapped in this castle waiting for her prince to rescue her. She spread her arms, and her already huge grin only grew. It's everything you've ever dreamed of. Tension gripped Chie from head to toe. She pulled her arms close to her torso, fists locked and ready to strike. But no, she had to keep it together. Maybe it's kinda cool, but I'm not doing this for fun. I just want to find Yukio and get her out of there. Chie! Yosuke called. Don't let it get to you! Shao circled around the three of them. That's right. All I want for you is to accept me. She snorted. Except that deep down, you're glad things ended up like this. Because if you rescue Yukio, she'll never want to leave your side. She'll owe her whole life to you, and you'll finally get the attention you've always craved. Okay, bright face. Chie had to keep cool. This was nothing. Maybe I was a little jealous of Yukio. The Shao laughed. Oh, don't kid yourself. Deep down, you wish you could be her. Tall, slender, with those soft lips and her porcelain skin. And oh, that bod. She ran her hands down her sides, right down to her hips, and licked her lips. What the hell? Chie screamed. Yosuke cringed. Dude! You moved closer, placing a hand on her shoulder. Chie, just stay calm. Your shadow only wants you to listen. Teddy bobbed up and down, but Chie could only guess was his equivalent of a nod. If you reject it, it'll just get stronger. You should listen to him, Chie. The shadow stopped in front of you, scowling. Even though a part of you wonders if she'll see them as her saviors instead of you. There's a new kid in town with special powers. He could carry Yukio off on a white horse, and you'll be left in the dust. Yosuke snarled, Dude, if you want her to accept you so bad, you're doing a real silly job. But those are feelings. She's both balled up inside, said Teddy. Chan, your friends are here for you. You won't let you turn Shadow into a grizzly, no matter what it has to say. Well, this Shadow held her arms out, palms up. Chie circled back. Her Shadow stepped closer. Ooh, you're scared. Scared he won't look at you the same. Scared that you aren't good enough for anyone. Scared of your own feelings. I'm not scared! Chie raised her trembling fist. Even her legs wobbled. I'm not! Her fiery glow around the Shadow stretched higher. Chie, don't say it! Chie! You cried.
It's fine if you're scared. We all are.
But I can't. I have to be stronger than this. Yukio needs me. Is that what you say to justify your selflessness? Because deep down, you're just a needy brat. To hell with what Yukio wants. As long as she's by your side, it doesn't really matter in the end.
TA's eyes slammed shut. Her shoulders drew up to her ears. Breathing shuddered and her cheeks burned.
Shut up! Teddy squeaked. No, not again!
He shivered and covered his eyes. Was this what it was like with Saki? But it was different now. Chie wasn't alone. This was... Chie! Just say you accept it! We won't hold it against you!
I can't!
The shadow chuckled, cold and mocking.
Is that your final answer?
Chie, you unsheathed the sword. It's gonna be okay.
Now I see why you guys warned me about this.
Chie shook her head, suddenly feeling so small. What did it say about her she couldn't accept these fucked up feelings? That she had to let others step forward.
Sorry, guys. I really tried. But this isn't who I want to be. And I thought you were stronger than that. You're, you're not me!
The glow surrounding her shadow shot towards the ceiling. Limbs elongated. A pointed yellow mask consumed her head. Her once short hair grayed and sprawled all over the floor, while a bubbling black pool formed beneath her, and from it, faceless gray girls in Yasakami high uniforms hoisted the shadow up high. Knee-high yellow boots covered her legs, with matching elbow-length arms, and in her hand she summoned a chain whip and snapped it at Chie. You tackled her out of the way. Chie's body suddenly felt so heavy that even as you approached the transformed shadow of Yosuke, she barely managed to lift herself onto her knees.
I am a shadow. The true self.
You and Yosuke shared a look, then drew their weapons. The shadow scoffed, raising her whip again.
So you want to play heroes, huh? Then you're just proving my point.
Yosuke sidestepped another crack at the whip, glancing at Chie with a sad smile. Chie, it's okay. You put up one hell of a fight. In a burst of light, his persona appeared. Persona! Now it's our turn. Izanagi! Yu's persona dived down behind him, swept the bladed spear out, and hit the shadow with some kind of weird glowy spell. The way it flinched suggested it was something useful, but Chie couldn't begin to guess what. An explosive burst of wind followed up, and the shadow toppled over. Yu and Yosuke rushed at it, kicking, punching, slashing, and stabbing. Though Chie wobbled to her feet, she collapsed on her knees again with just one step. Worse, her shadow's little servants hoisted her back up. Wet smacked the floor. Quaking cackling filled the room.
That's right. It's just like I said. In the end, you're useless.
Lightning struck Yosuke before he could even blink, and he screamed at the top of his lungs.
And so are they.
Hours had passed, and still no sign of Yu. By now they had all finished their required homework, and now sat side by side on the couch, enjoying a marathon of Featherman reruns. Akechi sat in the middle, grumbling a bit during the Maze of Love episode, as he awkwardly explained why someone would slap an alleged loved one in the face. Feelings are complicated. When the love is artificially induced, then such a kiss could be seen as a breach of boundaries. Not everyone wants a kiss, so really, Akechi was the last person to ask about relationships, and seeing Kanji didn't far much better as he secretly raised the back of his neck, as he often did. Yeah, love spells are always superseded, you know? Because the feelings are real. It's like mind control. But there's more kissing, I guess.
Yes, Nanako said. Well, maybe we can be happy and start talking to each other. Like we seems to like Swan, even without the magic wings.
Ah, was Nanako already developing into a shipper? And without even seeing the superior chemistry between Hawk and Condor. So what if they were both boys? What was wrong with that? Kazi chuckled. Looks like you got something on your mind, kid. What's up? Just thinking about certain pair-ups and their missed potential. Nothing serious. Nanako glanced at the front door and the credits roll.
How come he hasn't told me yet?
He must be worried about his friend. Kazi said, it hasn't been long since he arrived. So much has happened.
I understand if you're scared now, Chan. You're scary, but I got you and Concentrate with me, and Dad's really trying hard to stop the bad guy, too.
Oh, man! Kazi pumped his fist in the air. If that punk shows his mug around here, I'll kick his ass! I mean, Keister?
Nanako personally giggles. It's so weird. It's strange, though. I guess he said to Kanji. They had their dummy weapons revoked, so unless they went to Daedra, as I come to think of it, that was a possibility. Nanako reached for her chin, making a drawn out sound. Are you trying to be a detective again? What can I say? There's something thrilling about genuine mystery. But before Nanako could worry, of course, I wouldn't dream of confronting the killer myself. I just want to do what I can, in case it can aid Tajima-san. Speak of the devil, Tajima stumbled through the door, hair slightly more disheveled than usual.
What a day.
He hung his coat and stopped, staring at Kanji.
You spent the whole day with him?
Kanji nodded.
No way in hell I'm gonna leave a couple of kids alone with a murderer around. That's good to hear.
Tajima sank on one of the kitchen chairs, turned back, and rubbed his temples.
I don't know what those boys are thinking, carrying around those fake weapons. Hell if I know,
Kanji said, though with a gentler, meeker tone than usual.
but they want to look tough. A lot of messed up shit's been going down lately.
He paused.
I mean, messed up stuff.
Thank you, Dad. I know it's a grown-up word. Nanako said, "That's French. We don't put it to see around me."
It's good to see you so responsible.
Tojima said, gave Kanji a brief, wide smile.
You're gonna learn a thing from you.
Ha! I guess you couldn't help but smirk. Agreed, Tojima-san. That boy worries me. Nanako frowned. Is he in trouble? Tojima said,
He's grumpy. He doesn't get home soon.
to his credit, the words had a slightly playful edge. I guess he didn't even doubt his sincerity, even so. Yu snapped his fingers, and a card materialized in his hand. Angel! He shouted. And another burst of light, a new persona slipped down. Blindfolded blonde angel, wearing only black wrappings that beverly covered her tits and crotch. And of course, Yosuke's face reddened, even if Yu felt a touch of warmth in his cheeks. Thankfully, Yosuke's next outburst distracted from his persona's skipping apprentice. Dude, I don't even know how you're doing that. Well, tiny smirk, you did that cool pose you often see in anime, adjusting his glasses. He even spoke in a deeper voice to add to the cool vibes. It's the power of the wild card. The air around him whipped wildly, then a torrent of wind smashed into Chie's Xiao, knocked her down to the floor one last time. You turned to Yosuke. You ready to finish this? Thought you'd never ask. Yosuke shared a grin with you. Then together they dived into the down shadow, pummeling and striking, and slicing and skewering, till it gave a blood-curdling shriek and went limp. That huge, monstrous body melted away, leaving behind its original humanoid form. Now there was just one more thing to do. So Yu slipped his sword back into the sheath, and Yosuke tucked his kunai away. When Yu approached, Chie just sat there in silence, mouth slightly agape. He couldn't blame her. A lot had just happened, and this was her shadow. Part of her turned her against her own friends. Still, Yu extended a hand and smiled. Chie, I just want you to know that neither one of us wants to take your place. Chie stared at his hand for a few moments, then secretly accepted it. I know. It's stupid to feel that way, but can you really blame me? I mean, sheesh! You just whipped out a ton of crazy magic powers, and all I could do was watch. I know the feeling, Yosuke said. When my shell went crazy, it felt like I was just a huge burden. You had to fight it all on its own. Chie's shell slightly sat up, just like Yosuke's before. She didn't make any witty comebacks. Her smirk had completely vanished, as he just tugged on her sleeve. The real TA watched this and took one tentative step closer. So I accept her. I'll get one of those personas too, right? Yep. Then you won't have to worry so much. You spoke warmly and gently. This was no easy task, after all. And after her Xiao's massive teardown, she deserved to know that this was okay. Ugh! I am such an idiot! She approached the Xiao, to slowly reach out her hand. Look, I still think you came on way too strong. But deep down, I know you were right. A part of me does want to keep Yukio close and never let go. Guess after a while I became so dependent on her. She's the one person who makes me feel like I'm worth anything. She gazed over her shoulder at Yosuke. I mean, I know she's the one that all the guys go gaga for. I can't say I blamed him either. Yukio's way prettier than me. Huh, interesting. You grabbed his chin, contemplative. Was Chie like him? Or maybe you was reading 2 months into it. You didn't know either well enough. Speculating on someone that was pretty tasteless, honestly. Still, she could offer some support. Don't roll yourself out just yet. Yukio called you her prince, didn't she? I say that's pretty charming. He winked, making finger guns. She and Yosuke both groaned. Dude, do you have to make it so weird? Yosuke whined. Hey, just saying, this is a judgment-free zone. Okay, I'm just gonna get it over with, CA said, taking her Xiao's hand. Guess we both have a lot to work out, huh? But if I'm gonna save Yukio, then we're gonna have to stop fighting and work together. Xiao nodded. Burst of light, he transformed once more. A white biker's helmet with a tall dorsal fin covered her head. Her clothes became a yellow tracksuit, samurai armor around her waist. In her hands, she clutched a double-sided glowing spear. Chie beheld her new persona with wide-eyed wonder. Whoa! So this is what it feels like! Persona nodded, then disappeared in a burst of sparkles. While she vanished, Chie turned around, a frown tugging her lips. Hey guys, are you sure we can't ask for their help? Ah, jeez. You hesitated. Wasn't you couldn't see the benefits of it? They all started off as ordinary teenagers. It was only through awakening their personas they truly gained the means to truly fight in this world. Even so, you really think that's a good idea after what we just went through? Hey, we're on your own until Yusuke worked things out with his Shao thing. And you got one heck of a cool teammate out of that. Yusuke did a big dramatic gasp. Do my ears deceive me? Did you just call me cool? TA marched over, swatting his shoulder. Don't let it get to your head. Quiet until now. Teddy did the closest approximation to a head tilt you can muster without a proper, hey, what's this about help? Well, this just got awkward. Best to nip it in the bud, though. Sighing, you turned to him and said, there are a few other people who know about the Midnight Channel and the TV world. Jeez, Sensei, and I thought we had something special. Yosuke crossed his arms, grumbling. Hey, it's not his fault he's rooming with the noisiest kid on the planet. Noisy? Does that mean he's got a sniffer like mine? He tapped his nose, lurking a bit, but you couldn't hate Teddy's childish naivete. But what a mess. You rested one hand on his hip, shaking his head slowly. He's good at connecting the dots anyway. Was that really enough? You gazed across the room, the double doors that would surely lead them deeper into the castle. I get what you're saying, GA, but still feels too soon. They were on a deadline. Bringing new people meant facing new shadows and taking a time for no rescue mission. I guess, said CA. But what about after we saved Yukio? I mean, that weird princess version of her got Xiao written all over it. So that means we'll have 4 persona users if we could pull this off, Yusuke said. And Chie still has to adjust to hers, said Yu. Before we could think about bringing more people here, we need to make sure we're all on the same page. But man, can you imagine the kind of persona Kanji'd have? Chie grinned like a puppy about to get a fresh little treat. Yosuke, on the other hand, winced and rubbed his shoulder. I'm more worried about his shadow. We can worry about that another time. Though a path laid ahead, you turned around. You could tell by the subtle heaviness of Chie's breathing and the sweat trickling down her cheek that enough was enough. Come on, it's getting late. Chie huffed. But what about Yukio? Teddy waddled closer and said, you shouldn't strain yourself, Chie-chan. Yukio-chan will be okay for a little longer. And if things get too hairy, I'll take on the shells barehanded. Yeah! He attempted a cry shop, only to wobble over. To be honest, he didn't sound all that convinced. At least I like to, but I'd probably just get in the way again. Eddie. Tia made her way over to him and pulled him back on his feet. If you feel weak, then all you gotta do is train. With what muscle? Yosuke said, and Chie narrowed her eyes. Hey, you never know. This place is some weird crap. A bulky bear's super tame. Chie tapped his chin as if contemplating it. Thinking you wasn't about to step in and crush his hopes after everything the bear had been through. We'll see you tomorrow, Teddy. Deal? You extended his hand for a shake. Okay. He took his hand, shaking it with the world's goofiest grin. In the meantime, I'll do my very best to bulk up, so I can be a real grizzly for Yuki-chan. Yeah. No, okay. Nothing you said sounds even remotely fantasy flattering. Yosuke said as he walked away. Maybe tone it down a bit, dude. Oh, you're no fun, Yosuke. Teddy blew up. Raspberry. Heh. You kept that little pun to himself, leading the way out to the door. Along the way, Chie asked, you gotta at least tell him it's okay. If I do, he'll probably get jealous. He thought he'll feel left out. He already knows I don't see the point keeping secrets. He hated that she had a point. Ketchy would know anyway. He too knew once already. Best to brace himself for another interrogation once they made it back home. All right, I'll think about it. Back at the Dojima house, Akechi, Nanako, Dojima all sat down with dinner of assorted bentos. Tempura, teriyaki, sushi, and even a little tonkatsu. With you taking so long, they just had to forego his heavenly cooking.
That's it. Josina growled. That kid's not back in 5 minutes. He's ground.
Just in time, the door slid open. A slightly disheveled youth dragged inside, wearing glasses. Akechi squinted. Why, Narakami-san, I didn't realize you needed eyewear. Hmm? Oh, he reached up, adjusting his glasses, and opposed to Ketchy, definitely seen at least 10 anime. Didn't you hear? Glasses are in right now. Tsushima did not laugh. He glared at you.
Hey, where were you?
Just hanging with friends. You plopped down at the table. Sorry I worried you, uncle. Seemed sorry didn't come for him. And Tsushima pounded the table with his fist.
Of course you worried me. First you and Haramaru get arrested. Then you disappear all day without even calling.
He looked down at his meal, sagging his side.
I know what's going on in your head. I promised your mother I'd keep you out of trouble.
How strange. Normally, Ketchy would have gotten a kick out of seeing you so thoroughly scolded. Under normal circumstances, he would have to suppress a smirk and mask his pleasure. But for some reason, this felt off. Perhaps Nanako and the way she lowered her gaze and nuzzled her food around with chopsticks without speaking a word. Well, that was all right. For her sake, Akechi said, Tsushima-san, I understand your feelings. Perhaps you should let him explain himself. There's not much to explain. You obviously lied. After we meet up with Tia-san, we spent the rest of the day together. Yukio's disappearance hit her pretty hard. We didn't want to leave her alone. So, yeah, we just helped TA out some messy feelings.
Tsushima groaned. That's all it is. That's fine. But he still should have called.
Though his voice lacked its earlier heat, the way his forehead wrinkled, the deepness of his frown betrayed his feelings all the same.
This town isn't as safe as it used to be. I need to know you're okay.
I understand. You bowed. Next time I'll be sure to call.
Good, that's all I ask.
Dinner passed rather uneventfully in the end. Nothing newsworthy. A forecast that continued clear skies. Eventually, you and Akechi returned to their shared bedroom, moved closer to their respective futons. Akechi rolled on his side, propping his head up with one hand. You know, Kanzi-san and I made some excellent headway today. You flopped on his back. Still won't give it a rest, huh? No, I will get to the bottom of this, with or without you. He dug his notepad out of his pocket. I think he'd be more useful to you as an ally than a rival. Akechi, we already went over this. I can't drag you into a place that could get you killed. Akechi sat up, one hand on his hip, while he gestured with his notepad. But you can endanger the lives of Hanamura-san and Chie-san just fine, evidently. You sat up too. That's different! How is it different? What makes them so qualified? They're only a few years older than me, and if it's maturity, that's equally questionable, especially when Hanamura-san's concerned. Tell me something, Akechi-kun. What'd you do if you had to face a part of you that you hate? What if your darkest feelings came out of hiding, demanding you accepted them? Interesting. Oh, Narakami. A tight white smirk crawled across Akechi's lips, and a bitter laughter slithered out of them. You tipped his hand, falling a little. You should know, Narakami-san. I'm well acquainted with my darkest feelings. There is a burning, seething ugliness inside me that makes me question what anyone could see in me. Think trying to imply something about my character. Spare me. Something I hadn't thought of before. Ketty-kun. Oh, he sounded so strange. Was that guilt, perhaps? You couldn't even meet Ketty's gaze any longer. Oh, fine. Then the floor was all his. I met Koinichi-san, you know. It was the day after Toshima-san took me in. We met again the day before she disappeared. I tried to encourage her to move forward. At the time, I had no idea what fate had in store for her. That this seemingly sleepy town would change so much. Kenzie turned away, shaking his head. You act like this doesn't concern me. You just assume I'm too weak. I never said you were weak. It's all about subtext, Narukami. The unspoken implications. The space between lines. It's the same. I was more than happy to share my findings. If you can't even trust me, then why should I trust you? You said nothing. He continued to look the other way. What a coward. He didn't have any real excuse, did he? It was just his pride. A sense of duty to this family he barely even knew. A small hope. I guess he pocketed his notepad. Fine then. Rivals it is. One way or another, I will find my way to that world. It's a shame you couldn't be more forthcoming. Silence pervaded. Neither moved from their spots. Neither met each other's eyes. It was a stalemate. Nothing more could be said. That was fine. As he pulled out his phone and stared at the photo of Princess Yukio. Another self, eh? Finally, it all clicked. Woo! We haven't done a long one like that in ages. I know. Worth it. Worth it.